Hello there, my name's Dan Money, Senior Physiologist and Clinic Manager from Nuffield Health, working with Vodafone. Today I'm here to talk to you about resilience, a topic that's on people's minds at the moment, given the nature of this pandemic and the various lockdowns we've been experiencing. Just before we launch into things, I'll just remind you that the online health assessments from Nuffield Health, which I'm helping to conduct at the moment, are free for all UK employees, and they're a good way to take a proactive approach to your health and well-being from the comfort of your own home over a Microsoft Teams call. Have a look on the My Choices benefit portal and register your interest, and we'll be in touch soon to get you booked in. So today we're going to cover what is resilience, why is it important, the characteristics of a resilient individual, the impact good resilience can have on health and well-being, strategies to improve resilience. So first of all, what does it mean to be resilient? Well, resilience, it's important to say, is something that we can learn to build and develop through our actions and behaviours day to day. And we can think of it as our individual capacity to manage, recover from and adapt in the face of stress, challenge or adversity. Resilience is as a result of maintaining a stable state of mental and emotional well-being, which then impacts positively on our physical energy, which we can think of as the battery we can see on the slide here. We want to try and engage in activities and behaviours that charge our battery rather than drain it down over the days and weeks. So why is resilience an important topic? Why do we need to build it? Well, just a slide here that rather than on an individual level so much, looks more at the bigger picture and how poor resilience could be affecting the country as a whole and workforces and that sort of thing. Just before that, on an individual level, you can see that mental health issues in any given year affect 1 in 4 people, and that's maybe even higher at the moment due to all that's going on. Everyone has emotional needs, and we all experience varying degrees of stress throughout the year and throughout an individual day. 1 in 6 people experience work-related stress, depression or anxiety. £26 billion is the amount poor mental health is currently costing the UK economy. And 70 million is the number of working days lost due to mental health problems. At this point, it's just worth mentioning an excellent resource that's available, which I'll also mention at the end of the presentation today, and that's something called SilverCloud, which you may well have seen on your wellbeing newsletters. It's a web-based platform that has lots of really useful insights into health, wellbeing, and particularly focused around mental health and resilience to stress and pressure. Particularly at the moment, would recommend checking out the Space from COVID-19 course that's on there, which has some really useful little sections and tools for your toolbox on how to manage the impact the pandemic may be having on your physical and mental well-being. So we can think about 4 main domains of resilience here, and to be fully resilient and operate our best, we need to be effective in these 4 domains. The difficulty is not all of us are fully effective in all of these all the time. The domains we're thinking about are emotional, mental, purpose and values, and physical. By moving between activity and renewal in each of these 4 domains, we fulfill our corresponding needs in terms of sustainability, security, self-expression, and significance. We'll all probably be more resilient in one area compared to the others. For example, someone might have very good physical energy, but struggle to maintain emotional energy because they too often experience or perceive events around them in a negative light. Unfortunately, few of us address each of these 4 key needs on a regular basis. When thinking about resilience, it's important to consider the mechanisms in the body that control resilience to a large extent, particularly the autonomic nervous system, which we can see on the slide here. This has 2 key divisions, which you can see on the right and left. The sympathetic division, which is our fight or flight or stress response, involving the release of stress chemicals when we're faced with physical threats and dangers, or psychological stresses and pressures. And that's the key thing really to consider, is that our body doesn't recognise the difference between physical and psychological stress and can react in the same kind of ways, such as by increasing heart rate and blood pressure and inhibiting the activation of digestion and processes that renew or recover energy in the body because they're simply not needed if we're trying to run away from a threat or danger. And of course, when we're not in reality running away from threats and dangers because the stresses and pressures are more psychological, such as from something that we face during the day when we're at work from our computer, sat in the chair, then there's nowhere for these stress hormones to go and they can accumulate in the body, making it much harder to engage the other side of this system, which we see on the left. And that's our parasympathetic system, which helps us to rest, recover, and promotes digestion and anything to do with recovery in the body, really. And for optimal resilience, we really need to have a good balance of these two branches. You do need to be able to respond and increase your physiological activity from your sympathetic system, such as when you're exercising, when you need to deal with a stressful physical situation. But you need to also then be able to activate the parasympathetic system to rest, recover and restore energy afterwards. So having an effective balance of these systems is an important thing. When we think about the balance, a tool has been has emerged in really actually quite a while ago now, probably getting on for 30 or so years ago, and is well used now in a lot of well-being related technology and indeed in certain health assessments that Nuffield Health offer. That's something called heart rate variability, which is an analysis of beat-to-beat changes in heart rate, which can help us to indirectly assess the balance of this autonomic nervous system, the balance of our fight or flight and our rest and digest. Ideally, of course, as stated previously there, we like the systems mostly to be in a state of balance, which is going to enable us to be able to respond to stresses and pressures that come up, but also to be able to recover and restore energy and remain resilient. On the slide, we can see the top line where the sympathetic response is dominant, where there's too much of that stress activation going on. We see a reduced heart rate variability when that's going on. And reduced heart rate variability has been linked in many studies to poorer physical health outcomes, increased risks of heart attacks and strokes, and generally poorer health and generally poorer energy and resilience. Conversely, on the bottom slide, we see a balanced system where there's a higher degree of variability. And that tends to indicate there's more reserve or more activation of that parasympathetic or rest or digest system going on. You can think of that as a sweet spot where the systems are working coherently together and the physiological state is optimum, and that allows for both systems to function normally when neither are overly active, and that again helps to respond to the environment and stimulus of stresses we may come up against during a given day. So clearly things we encounter physically, such as exercising, physical impacts on the body, such as from our diet or sleep, are going to affect that balance. But it's interesting to note that emotions can really have a big effect too. Studies have shown that when we experience negative emotions, such as frustration and anger, it can really impact on the balance of that nervous system. The stress response is triggered and the relaxation response becomes less able to respond. And that can be shown in a cluttered pattern of heart rate variability, such as the darker blue line at the top there, shown when an individual is experiencing frustration. When positive emotions are experienced, such as appreciation and gratitude, they've shown that that can help to promote a more balanced nervous system, what's called a coherent heart rhythm, where the brain and the heart are speaking to each other and communicating well, and that again helps our responsiveness or our reserve to cope with extra stresses and pressures when we need to. A small thought-provoking quote here that you may just like to ponder on for a moment. So effectively, what I believe this is getting at is that by making choices that reduce the impact on our resilience and taking the time to recharge, we can conserve our fuel or our battery, if we like to think of it that way, and have more resilience and energy left when we really need it. Here's an example on the slide here of how physical resilience can be affected by what goes on in a given day. In terms of particularly here focusing in on food intake, sleep, and those physical factors. This is looking at two individuals over the course of 3 days, with a horizontal line coming out from the word energy across the screen, showing a kind of neutral point for energy or a starting point. We can see on the top, the person has experienced poor sleep as a result of not taking any breaks, kept their energy going or bumped it up occasionally there with caffeine intake, but it's not led to a sustained increase in energy. And overall, across those 3 days, their energy levels have fallen off and led to them probably feeling quite tired, frustrated, and low in terms of their mood and energy. On the bottom graph, we can see an individual who has made better physical choices. They've made time for breaks, even made time for activities that can help to restore mental energy, such as meditation. They've included quality snacks and better quality sleep, things that help to build physical energy. And over the course of 3 days, they have increased their overall energy level significantly above that neutral point. To go into a little bit more detail on how food that we eat can affect this. So again, here we've got or the same individual on 2 different occasions, or 2 different individuals, if you like, looking at how the effect of what we eat in terms of the sugars, or how those sugars are released into the bloodstream, impact on our blood sugar levels, and how in turn that could affect our mood, energy during the day. So the big wavy black dotted line represents an individual who, starting the day, has had a high sugar type of breakfast, which has then resulted in a big sugar surge, perhaps again promoting a short-term boost in energy, but then we can see the line drop sharply thereafter. Often the body will compensate by releasing a higher volume of insulin, the hormone that regulates blood glucose. Then we may see this larger drop in the glucose levels, which can leave the individual feeling low in energy, sluggish, perhaps craving more sugar at this mid-morning slump point to get themselves going again. The sugar levels then fly up again, and this tends to perpetuate throughout the day. This roller coaster effect can really have an effect of reducing overall energy and resilience to stress, particularly later on in the afternoon when we most need to concentrate. The pink line, which is slightly hidden there, represents an alternative pattern where someone has eaten foods that promote a more slow and steady release of energy or glucose into the bloodstream, which has promoted less fluctuation, kept our blood sugar levels within a more optimal range, and most likely impacted positively on our mood, energy, concentration throughout the day. The body effectively has quite strict limits where it wants to keep the amount of sugar in the blood. Too much sugar remaining in the blood can cause damage to tissues, and too low a sugar level in the blood is a stressor and causes a lack of energy and irritability and sugar cravings. So again, by eating in a way that helps to balance this, we can really benefit our resilience. It's important to say the body is pretty tolerant, and not everyone will experience this effect the same as everyone else in terms of big fluctuations, but it's good to do what you can on this front. It really can benefit your energy level throughout the day. So exercise and recovery slide here, and we're thinking about how exercise can benefit your resilience, and how resilience in this sense is not about how you endure stress, physical stress in your body, but how it helps you to gain a kind of bounce back effect and recharge to an even higher level. Because for sure, exercising in a short-term sense, particularly intense exercise, does tend to use up your battery and increases activation of the stress response. But the increased effect of building your recovery power by undergoing that, and therefore the longer term impact that will have on increasing the sort of power of your battery charger, if you like, is usually hugely worthwhile. Even short bouts of exercise though, such as a 10-minute brisk walk, can have a really beneficial effect, including increasing mental sharpness, lifting your mood and energy, and increasing blood flow to your brain. And we respond to stress by preparing our bodies for exercise. In the past, this usually involved running away from danger, such as that fight or flight we mentioned before. And it's important to use those stress chemicals that are circulating in the blood up, the adrenaline and cortisol, because if they're remaining in the body when we're trying to rest, relax and recover, it's likely to be much harder to do so. Hormone control of sleep, such as from the hormones like melatonin, can be impaired, meaning that we're not able to sleep well. High levels of cortisol remaining in the blood can also affect factors like our immunity, and increased glucose levels circulating obviously can lead to weight gain and increased risk for diabetes in the long run if we're constantly stressing that blood sugar control. Exercise has been shown to really benefit the our resilience in terms of release of hormones like dopamine and serotonin that promote a feel-good factor and also help with relaxation. When your body adapts to exercise, it becomes more efficient and resilient, and this can mean that you use less energy in the future for the same task, meaning that you feel like you have more energy throughout the day. The thing to consider with exercising, I guess, also is the consistency of it. So trying to make sure that you keep it regularly throughout the day, and even if you haven't got time to do your usual mode of exercise, trying to do something short, such as just getting out for that 10-minute walk, will be so much better than doing nothing at all. Sleep's obviously another very important physical resilience factor to consider. We won't go into massive detail on sleep here, as we're going to cover that in more detail in a webinar in the coming months. But it's definitely good to think about how, particularly later on in the day, we can promote an effective wind down routine by reducing time on electronic devices, allowing our natural hormones that promote a state of sleepiness to kick in, like melatonin, and trying to avoid things that activate that stress response later on in the day. Choosing instead things that stimulate fewer senses, like reading a relaxing book or practicing some mindfulness or breathing exercises, or perhaps some form of low intensity exercise, probably going to be more beneficial to help promote a good wind down routine. Again, I mentioned earlier the Space from COVID-19 module within the Silver Cloud program, which has got a really useful section on how you can promote good sleep at the current time, and again how sleep may be currently impacted for some people by the current situation we're experiencing in relation to the pandemic. So, quick summary on physical resilience. Promote good quality sleep with an evening wind down routine. Engage in hobbies, socializing, relaxation outside of work, again obviously virtually where possible at the moment. Limiting tea and caffeine stimulants like caffeine to 2 cups per day, and choosing to try and avoid them later on in the day so they're out of your system when you're trying to sleep. Getting your 150 minutes a week of exercise, which is your government minimum guideline. That's moderate exercise, 5 out of 10 type stuff where you're breathing harder but you can still hold a conversation. Eat good quality foods that promote a steady release of energy at regular intervals. So there's a bit of a New Year resolution type theme at the bottom there, which is to try and pick 3 of these and implement them over the next 6 weeks consistently. Next up, we'll have a look at emotional resilience. So regulating emotions, as we thought about earlier in relation to those 2 different graphs of heart rate variability, we can see can have a significant impact on the balance of that autonomic function, that balance of fight or flight versus rest and digest, and in turn significantly impact on our resilience and battery charge. If we experience too many negative emotions, some of which can obviously be of our own doing, this can drain our physical and mental charge. Aiming to see things that we experience in a more rational and positive way where possible can help to reduce the impact. Now, it can be, certainly quite patronising to say that we're never going to experience any negative emotions such as frustration, anger, etc. They're going to happen, but if we can, when possible, put a positive spin on things and change our self-talk or perception of different stresses we encounter into a more positive light, that's certainly likely to help reduce the impact of those negative emotions. On the slide here, we can see some examples of negative thinking patterns, such as catastrophizing, fortune telling, overgeneralizing, and such things as that, which can tend to have an impact on our emotional well-being and resilience. An example in the slides down the bottom there of an event where a team member has let their manager down by not getting a presentation on time, the emotions and behaviours that may be experienced, and turning some initially negative thought processes that are likely to adversely impact our resilience into more positive statements that then lead on to actually positive actions that will help to resolve the situation. And again, yes, this slide again looks at how our reactions, whether they're helpful or unhelpful, can have a significant bearing on our resilience, and just thinking through how we may like to react differently in certain situations in a more logical and reasonable way. As we saw on the graph earlier as well, practicing positive emotions such as gratitude and kindness can tend to have a positive effect on boosting resilience. So gratitude is about taking the time to notice the good things in our lives and getting more from them. Even on a bad day, there's some good things that can happen, however small. Research has shown that by focusing on the positive, we can reframe our brain to develop a more positive and optimistic outlook. Evidence also shows this simple act can reduce symptoms of depression and boost resilience. So by doing this, you're effectively taking action for your own happiness. So why not for a week try and do the 3 good things exercise, which is simply writing down 3 good things that have happened in your day every day over a week, and see how that makes you feel. The research has shown that this can have a really good impact on reducing symptoms of depression, increasing feelings of happiness. And it's quite long lasting, even if you don't carry it on. Remember that resilience does not mean you'll never experience negative emotions or adversity in life. In fact, it wouldn't be helpful and it would be insulting to suggest you can always look on the bright side of things. So resilience means you feel you have the ability to cope and recover when times are difficult. You're able to rebalance. Mindfulness is a relaxation breathing technique that has gained much interest in recent years due to the scientific evidence that supports it. I'm sure you'll have seen there are many different apps such as Headspace or Calm that make an easily user-friendly, accessible way to access mindfulness meditation and fit it into our day. Even short periods of mindfulness have been shown to be really beneficial in terms of boosting memory and focus, improving stress management, improving emotional regulation. Again, I won't go into detail here, but recommend that you have a look at the mindfulness section within SilverCloud, as that has a really good guide of how to get started with that. Identifying stress and how to recognise when you may need some additional support. So we can think of the acronym PAUSE here. P for pleasure, reduce pleasure in action, in activities or relationships, leading to avoiding those things. A for appetite changes, noticing that you're losing your appetite or eating excessively. U for unable to concentrate or focus, feeling really irritable that you can't keep your mind on something you're trying to do for more than a few moments. Sleep for the S there, unable to sleep or sleeping way more than you normally do, can both be signs that you may need some extra support. E for emotional changes, particularly irritability, becoming reactive with your family and friends. So yeah, again, I will at the end go over some of the support avenues that are available for Vodafone employees in the UK, and that includes things that you can do for yourself, such as the SilverCloud app, information you can find on other various platforms for self-help guides to help improve your resilience to stress and pressure, but also some services where you may be able to speak to people and have some more directed, focused support for your emotional well-being and resilience to stress and pressure. So here we think about lastly the resilience toolkit, and those key areas. Physical resilience, Keeping up good sleep hygiene, so that's good sleep habits. We haven't gone into sleep in detail here, but again, we will cover that more in a future webinar. Scheduling in a form of movement every day, getting away from your desk, taking those 10 minutes to refresh your brain and recharge your physical battery. Regulating your energy levels, so trying to eat in a way that promotes a steady release of glucose and keeps your energy supply up throughout the day. Emotional, thinking about the way in which you respond to stresses and pressures in the day. Trying to come up with the 3 good things that have happened each day to put perspective on the day and boost your happiness level. Mental, using mindfulness to keep yourself in the moment and quiet the mind chatter and rumination. Trying to focus more on tasks one at a time rather than multitasking and over processing on too many different things. We haven't gone into the time management tips within this one particularly, but that can include things that I've mentioned in previous presentations, such as the focus zones, where we take some time to remove ourselves from external distractions such as emails and phone messages coming in. Really focus in on one piece of work or something we're trying to get done. Purpose and values. Cherishing your relationships with those close to you. Finding out your strengths. Protecting time for yourself for hobbies, interests and relaxation. And performing daily acts of kindness, even if it's just something small, such as helping your partner or child to do something at home. So yes, as mentioned, here are the services available through Wellbeing within Vodafone. As I've mentioned quite a few times throughout this presentation, SilverCloud's a really useful platform that you can sign up to with lots of guides on how to improve your resilience to stress and pressure. We've got the online services such as online health screening that I've mentioned that I run. They're the 30-minute online health assessments over Microsoft Teams. You can book an online virtual GP appointment if you've got a medical concern or problem at the moment, and that could include a concern around your mental emotional well-being. You can reach out to one of the many first aiders that are trained within Vodafone at the moment. You should be able to find out from your manager who your first aider is in your area of the business, or who the first aiders are. And we've also got the employee assistance program that has a wide array of different topics and support available in terms of online self-help guides, but also the potential ability to engage with a counsellor. And you can find all of the information on the Wellbeing SharePoint and the Wellbeing UK community on Workplace. Okay, and I'd like to thank you once again for taking the time to listen into this resilience presentation today. And I hope to speak to you on another webinar soon. So I hope you can all stay well, stay safe, and yeah, speak soon. Thank you.